Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, everyone. I'm Janice. I'm so happy to be here. This Sangha Life community has really become dear to my heart since I've been involved with it the last few weeks. So welcome back, or welcome for the first time. I'm Janice. I am a colleague of Caverly Morgan. I am a mindfulness teacher and I work for Peace in Schools. So I'm here to introduce Caverly and just get us a little bit oriented before she starts the meditation. Caverly Morgan's the founder of Peace in Schools, the nonprofit I work for. We offer transformative mindfulness education for both teens and adults, teens in the public school system out in Portland, Oregon. Caverly is also the creator of Presence Collective, which I also teach through. Presence Collective is just a community of meditation teachers, healers, sages, offering practice to the world. Caverly's many other things: an author, a visionary, a dog lover. So thanks for being here. And she'll be guiding us through a 30-minute meditation today, followed by question and answer. If you're interested in other offerings Caverly has, you might check out the SAND conference, Science and Non-Duality Conference, Wisdom in Times of Crisis, that's happening now. She's a part of that, and I can drop the link in after that. I also want to plug another offering through Presence Collective. So those of you who've been part of this community for a while know that I recently offered a webinar through that, and it was so nice to see some of your faces there. And a Presence Collective community member, her name is Dr. Sarah King, is offering a webinar today. And I'll drop in the topic and the link to that. But Dr. Sarah King is just incredible. She's a neuroscientist. She's been a huge friend of Peace in Schools, and we're just thrilled to have her getting more involved in that work and also teaching through Presence Collective. One quick tech announcement for the day. So Cassandra and I, the two people who have been doing these intros, are supported by Jake at Sangha Live. And Jake just sent us an email this morning that offers a lot of clarity. So the simple update is, if you have a Mac computer, we have been encouraging Mac users to use Chrome for a very long time. However, if Chrome doesn't work for you, and this is when I say if it doesn't work, specifically if you can't get on camera with Caverly, or if you're having other issues, then Safari seems to be working. We're not sure why. We think it has something to do with the Chrome update, but it's a little confusing because we've always said Chrome is best, and it is, except if it's not. So if Chrome's not working for you on a Mac, try Safari. That has been supportive for people, and if that doesn't work, then we can connect you with Jake directly. So lastly, before I bring Caverly on, if you have the ability to support people like Jake, the people in the background that are making this happen, these teachings are available to all worldwide because of the generosity of this community. So please consider donating. Right below, there's a green button, offering Dana if you can. Thank you for those who have already donated and continue to donate. It's truly what makes this possible. So I think that's all the info for today. I'll bring Caverly on and see if I missed anything. Hi, Cav.
Thank you so much.
Yeah,
really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Right. Thank you. Friends, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I'm so glad to be back with you. And Janice, thanks for giving us those technical tips. I really hope, friends, that you won't give up on coming on screen with me, joining in that way. We had our weekly Wednesday night group last night through Presence Collective. I know many of you can't join because it's in the evening and the timing is just so tricky. But again, we'll offer another one for those far-flung Sangha members. We'll offer another one once my schedule frees up, because I'm not doing these morning calls. But it's so lovely to actually see folks, and get to have an exchange in that way. So please don't give up. Let's keep trying. It's so rich when we can do that. So if you'd like to come on after today's meditation, you can just put that in the sidebar, or just let Janice know. You can put it in the question box, put it anywhere. And thanks, Janice, for putting these links in the sidebar, the different things you announced. While I'm making announcements, I do want to acknowledge that my father has joined these sessions pretty regularly, and it's his birthday today. So big shout out to my father, Richard Morgan. All right, last night, yesterday morning we spoke about the inner critic, and then last night's group, we sort of, that theme continued on. We moved into speaking about process. Good to know so far Chrome has been working for you. Thank you, Carol, for mentioning that. Hi, Ian from South Sea. Thanks to those of you who said hello. That some of you I hadn't seen your name come through before. So anyway, thanks for saying hello. I told Janice this morning, it's as though there's something in the air. As many people have been speaking to me about the activation of the inner critic, in the way that we've been talking about in these calls, the recognition that many people have been reporting, this recognition they've been getting identified with the conditioned mind. As you know from working with me, not bad, not wrong. Helpful to see though, because we do suffer when identified with the conditioned mind. So I wanted to take what came up yesterday and morning in the session here, and then what kind of unfolded in the evening session following up from that, and continue on this theme. If you're joining us for the first time today, no worries at all if you were not able to attend those sessions. I'm going to do my very best to speak about what I wanted to bring in today in a way that you won't be lost. So please, as you know, the engagement's important to me. Meeting you where you are is important to me. So write in the sidebar if when I'm talking, you're like, can you just flesh that out a little bit more? Can you explain that a bit more? I don't want to lose anyone. What I wanted to bring into today's session, given what's coming up for people about identification and specifically the activity of the judge, the inner critic, I wanted to bring in a focus on process over a content. I haven't talked about that in these calls that I'm aware of. And I wanted to give specific focus to the value of being able to recognize process. And we're going to do, I'm going to lead a guided meditation that invites the exploration of direct experience. But before I do, I thought I'd say a little bit more, frame it out a little bit more. So process, when I'm referring to process, I'm referring to the processes of the conditioned mind, the way in which, from the perspective of awareness practice, being able to see the way in which the conditioned mind is structured and habituated to have loops, to have loops of repetitive thought forms that when we're only focusing on the content, we might miss. So an example might be, I've been doing a process of getting identified with the inner critic. I might miss that if I'm only focused on the content of what the inner critic is pointing out. If the inner critic is pointing out, oh, I wasn't skillful in that exchange with that person, and oh, I lost my temper over here, or I made a mistake at work over here. If I'm only looking at those pieces of content, I might miss that that the theme, if you will, is that I've been identified with the conditioned mind. Specifically in this example, I've been identified with the process of self-criticism. So that's what we're going to be exploring today, being able to see process over content. Or another way to say it would be being able to release the attention from the content so that process can be revealed. Now, before I guide a direct experience in which we explore this, I'd love to know, as you know, I rarely come in and, it's early in the morning for me. I rarely come in and just start talking. But I wanted to frame this a bit. So jot me a note, please, in the sidebar if what I've said so far isn't making sense to you, or if you need more clarification. Again, now we're going to have direct experience, but I do want to make sure no one's already feeling lost. And while I'm just waiting to double check that, we're all together on this, go ahead and take 3 of the longest and deepest inhalations and exhalations you've taken yet today. Good, Sandy. Thank you for your question. Do we have control over the conditioned mind? Appreciate you framing out or asking that question. I'm going to bring that into the guided meditation. That's helpful to me. Thank you. I want you to find out more about that in your own direct experience. So thank you for voicing that. That will help me in the framing of the meditation. Jan, good. I'm glad to hear. Okay, lovely, friends. We'll sit together for half an hour. As usual, I'll guide the beginning and then there'll be silence. And yes, Evelyn, true, it is difficult to unhook sometimes. And then Kiki, thanks for acknowledging this further clarification of process. It's resonating even more for you now. Good. I'm glad. Our exchange last night was helpful to me in terms of wanting to get to the heart of it. Carol, it's making sense. I'm noticing inner critic is extra loud and constant during this lockdown. Yeah, Carol, I just want to acknowledge before I ring this bell, that's one of the reasons I wanted to focus on this. I'm hearing more from people about what's getting activated at this point in the lockdown. So I really want to address that. I want us to go straight into what's happening for many of us during this lockdown. Yeah, is it perhaps just due to extra stress or uncertainty or lack of other distractions? I want to underline that a huge thing that's going on that I'm seeing is we're so unaccustomed to having this much of everything gets turned back inward because we have less engagement externally or less distractions, as you ended with in your comment there, Carol. So it's like I always use the example, what's one of in our world, what's something we think of as a harsh punishment? Solitary confinement. Why is that such torture? Because we'd be alone with ourselves, and specifically alone with those conditioned patterns and processes. Yeah. Richard, does the conditioned mind have positive characteristics too? Are we picking and choosing? Thank you. Good. I'm going to bring that in. All right, friends. Thank you. So, friends, we're going to begin with a little bit more of a guided imagery experience based on today's theme. If you've never done any kind of guided imagery and I ask you to picture something and you just go blank, just please know there's nothing bad or wrong about that. It's just not where the mind wants to go today. Let it be so, and just listen along. You can listen to this recording later if you like, if you feel you missed anything. And yes, thanks, Christine, for chiming in. My entangled dance with the inner critic arises daily. You are not alone. So I'm going to ask you to visualize now one place in your life that you can see you've been getting identified, hooked, as Evelyn said, identified with a process within the conditioned mind. One way you can find that is choose a place in your life that you've been suffering. And I want to be very clear, I'm not just talking about intense suffering that leads you to feel like you just want to jump off a cliff. I'm talking about agitation, discontent, dis-ease, worry, fear, regret. So I'm talking about suffering through the Buddhist framework. So find one place in your mind's eye now that you can see you've been suffering. And begin this imagery by just seeing the content. Yeah, I've been suffering. I don't have enough money. There are too many people in my house and I'm not getting any space. Work's been really difficult. Fill in the blank. Consciously now name the content. I'm not getting to see the people I love. People around me are sick. I'm worried about how our government continues to handle or mishandle this crisis. Name the content. If the inner critic's been really enlivened for you lately, name the content. I've been getting beaten up because I'm not using this time wisely. I'm not creating enough. I'm not doing enough. Whatever that content is, just go through, name content for now. So for this part of the guided imagery, don't worry about process. What's the content that your conditioned mind fixates on that leads to suffering? What's the current content? One place in your life. My husband never, dot, dot, dot. My wife never. I don't have a partner. Another way you could focus on this is what's the conditioned mind's list of complaint right now? And just notice if all the complaints are about you. If you've been getting identified with the inner critic, that's likely to be the case. You aren't doing enough. You're screwing up at work. Simply notice and feel the impact of being identified with that content. What happens for you when you're identified with that content? Again, no worries at all if nothing's coming up for you at all. Just enjoy space, being in community, resting in presence with this lovely crew. So really feeling the impact of being identified with this content. And now imagine, and you could go back, listen to this meditation again, and actually write these things down in your journal. Imagine that you could see a list of some of this content. Now go through, imagine reading this list. That's how you'll see the theme of process. So if my list is, you aren't good enough, why are they always so blank? You said the wrong thing. Like those are all pieces of content I've been suffering over. If I were to now read that list, I would see, oh, the theme, the process behind these pieces of content is a process of judgment or criticism. It goes in and then out, and then in, and then stays in, and then out. So now you're looking at the content, but giving attention, opening the attention for insight, listening for insight around process. So not what, but how. What's the how? Perhaps I'm doing a process of worry, or a process of judgment, or a process of insecurity. So again, just to really spell it out, if I was doing a process of insecurity, I might, if I'm identified with that, suddenly I'm insecure about myself, insecure about my relationship with money or with our, household finances at large, feeling insecure about the state of the world. What we are unconscious to silently governs us. So if we can't see process, we will understandably be busy trying to rearrange content till the end of time. Oh, well, if I could just make more money, then my problem would be solved. Well, if I could just work harder or be a better person according to a conditioned standard, then my problem would be solved. Then my suffering would end. The resolution must come on the level of process, not content. So first we must see process. Again, it's not what, it's how. So now let all of that go. Take another 3 long, deep inhalations and exhalations. And now just notice what arises. There's no wrong answer. Notice what arises when you ask, what do I most deeply long for? Just what's the first thing that comes up? What do I most deeply long for? If it's a feeling, like peace, give for this meditation, give it a name. I long for equanimity, ease, well-being, to know my true nature. Fill in the blank. What do you most deeply long for? And now ask with no judgment, to the best of your ability, does the process that I just named, whatever process I got in touch with today, does that process lead toward what I most deeply long for? Does it take me there? Does it bring me deeper into the fulfillment of that longing? We get told, for example, we're identified with the conditioned mind, specifically the inner critic. We get told that if we listen to it, we'll earn what we long for, or it somehow will support the movement towards what we long for. If I got everything right, then I could relax, for example. But really explore in your own direct experience now. Does the process that I've been identified with recently, does that conditioned process actually lead toward what I long for? Go now straight to the experience of what you long for. So if you long for ease, go straight to the ease of simply being. If you long for happiness, go straight to the happiness that comes from recognizing that all of those processes are creations in the conditioned mind. They have as much reality as you give them through your attention. You can nourish those conditioned processes with your attention, and you can nourish the direct experience of being what you long for, because everything we long for in life is actually inherent. Everything we most deeply long for already is. We can nourish our capacity to rest in that and to know it. Now notice as we nourish what we long for by giving it our attention, by resting there. Notice that we didn't have to control the conditioned mind. We didn't have to get rid of the conditioned mind. We simply saw the conditioned mind for what it was, just the activity in consciousness that doesn't have the reality that we assume it has when we're identified with the conditioned mind. So to play off yesterday's theme, it's like a shadow. There might be quote unquote positive things within that conditioning, within those processes. There might be quote unquote negative things within those processes. But go now straight to what's underneath even the duality of positive and negative. Go straight to what's underneath, if you will, born and dying, starting and ending. As a conditioned process arises, see that process from awareness. See through that process from awareness. Don't mistake that process to be you. Claim your seat as presence. Shine the light on your name, presence. Go straight to what you most deeply long for. Be the moth that flies straight into the flame. A Sufi mystic might say, merge with the beloved. A Christian, become one with God. An expression from the Advaita Vedanta tradition. No, I am that. The Buddhist expression. Know your true nature. All right, friends, thank you. I hope that was useful today. Sandy, I see your comment. If we are rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic. Oh, speaking of the Titanic, I can't forget, friends, we sink. We sink if you don't support this platform financially. I've been asked after every meditation to be sure to plug donations, and many of you have been so generous. I ask for that to continue so that we can continue. So thank you for donating if you're able. We really value it a great deal. And as always, no self-hate if you cannot donate right now. We know that there are people out there who are just trying to keep food on the table. And if that's true for you, thank you for practicing in the face of that hardship. Thank you for showing up. We, the community, will support you. Keep coming. Sandy, if we are rearranging the deck chairs on the Titanic, how do I appreciate life and not see it as if being on the Titanic? Sandy, I noticed that comment came in mid-meditation, and I'd love to hear whether there was some clarification about that through the meditation for you. What we did in the meditation is we saw process, or as at least this was the frame of the meditation, to see process, and then to see it for what it is, and directly, or to give the attention to what we long for instead. If I'm identified with being the person on the deck, then I'll always be rearranging those chairs. So hopefully, again, Sandy, through the rest of that meditation, that you were able to have a direct experience of that. And again, if you weren't, no worries at all. This is being recorded. You can watch it again later. Or you could come on screen right now. That would be particularly lovely. Yevlin, okay to come on screen. Great. Let's give it a try today. I would love that. Yevlin, let's see if that can work. Oh, good. Christine. Wow, what a way to reframe this day. I'm so glad that's true for you. Yes, it's a huge reframing, isn't it? Thank you, Christine.
Yes.
Yevlin.
Okay. Hello, how are you?
Hello. Hello in Europe.
Yeah.
Hi.
Okay, I have a question. I had it in my mind for, maybe in my conditioned mind for a few days. Okay, it's like I really understand it from an intellectual point of view. And I have felt several times in meditation how when to come back in presence is really helping a lot. And but my question is, very often, like during the day, or I really realize I am trapped into this conditioned mind identification. And it's like I really see it. Now, it might be difficult then to come back to presence. Now, through the meditation practice I have had for years, so I got breathing, feeling the body, and sometimes maybe only being with a gong, I say, okay, and come back. What happens usually, I'm going to be more or less, let us say, okay, in this presence for a while, and then after some time I realize, here I'm again in the loops. And it's like the loops tend to come back and come back and come back and come back. So they are called loops. So my question is, well, I know there's no magic solution, like no tip and no trick, but is how to be able to rest in this presence and not be always attracted, or when I see clearly I'm attracted, how is it clear? Yes.
Yes, and this is why I love when folks come on screen, because I can feel what you've been focusing on in practice, and it allows me to speak even more directly to your experience. So Yevlin, this is beautiful. You have the tools of practice. You've been practicing a long time. You have the tools to see, first of all, just to acknowledge what a beautiful thing that you can see, oh, I'm identified with the conditioned mind. Before you met me, you might have framed it differently, but you could see, okay, I'm hooked, as you said in the sidebar this morning. That is step one, isn't it? Like, okay, I'm identified with the ego, or with the illusion of a self that is separate from life. Very helpful. Practice has offered you tools. Okay, I can come back to the breath. I can come back to body sensations, come back to the present moment. But what you're describing is that over time in your practice, it just feels like you're, okay, gone away, come back again, gone away, come back again, gone again. Yeah. Okay, good. So one thing that I can say from my own experience is, the good news is we do build that muscle over time, that the muscle of just come back, but you've already been building that muscle. So that doesn't actually speak to your greatest, the deepest question you have right now, I imagine. to just say, keep at it, keep building that muscle is not really that satisfying, I would imagine.
It's already encouraging because I hear, if I hear properly or understand properly, it's normal.
Oh, well, that's, yes.
My expectation would be to stay longer time in this present and not to
Yes.
be out. It's like being in a cage, and
Yes.
then you go out of the cage, until you are back in the cage and you go out and
Yes.
it's normal already. But sometimes, okay, the child, I feel, wow, is there any way I could be there longer? Maybe not.
Well, it's really helpful that you can, I'm glad you're speaking about this so that you can have a reflection that indeed, I imagine everybody on this call knows the experience of getting identified, coming back to a place of center and presence, getting identified, coming back to a place of center and presence, and building that muscle, if you will. But one of the things I wanted to suggest is sometimes in that process of having learned a practice where we're building that muscle, we're coming back, we're doing it again and again, and we're feeling bad that we can't stay there longer, and we're trying to cling to it. Sometimes in that process, we're actually reaffirming the story that we don't want that process. We need to avoid it. We need to get rid of it. Through practice, we'll be able to control our capacity to stay in presence longer. Can you feel the ego's tendrils in that?
Exactly.
Yeah. Yes. So one thing we can do is, rather than avoid that process, simply go straight into it, explore it deeply. What is this? Because if you explore it that deeply and that fully, rather than subtly avoiding it, wanting it to go away, hoping you can get rid of it, trying to fix it, hoping you'll finally once and for all see it off into the horizon forever and ever, yes, rather than playing into that and making yourself the kind of hero in the story, the Zen samurai that's just going to kind of cut the head off the ego once and for all. Move into that process, whatever the process of the conditioned mind is, deeply, because if you move into it deeply, you'll be moving into it from presence. Move into it, claim the seat of presence and move into it from presence. And then from presence, know it intimately. See that there's nothing to fear there. See it as a shadow, not a samurai that needs to be battled with.
Yeah, the samurai really is talking to me. So sometimes the tendency, okay, I should be there, not there, and you come back and you go, okay. So more like you said, to give space to the waves, but without identifying with the waves, but still let the waves be there as something normal.
Yes. Yes. It should be acknowledged. In my experience, we do not get rid of the conditioned mind. We don't need to. We don't want to. You know, Richard pointed out, like, there's sort of positive, quote unquote, things as well. You know, so I'm, for example, as you know, you've heard me talk about being from Virginia. I'm conditioned to be very polite. I know how to walk into a room and be very polite. Right? It's just part of conditioning. It's not bad. It's not wrong. It's not good. It's not right. Comes in handy in some moments, right?
Okay, it does help. It does help. And also the idea we see it as an encouragement, but you said also the muscle still building. So
yes, and to just, yes.
That's normal.
It's more than normal. It's the nature of practice.
Yes, I can understand that.
Yeah.
Practices. Okay, so no
We
fear.
forget, we remember, we forget, we remember. Rupert Spira, he might have borrowed this image from somewhere else, but I heard it from him, so I'll credit him. He talks about, for some people, you know, this experience of recognizing true natures, like bright lights, fireworks, and the lights all come on at once. For most of us, it's like through something like practice or just the experience of resting in our own being. It's like walking through a dense fog. And then just over time, our jacket becomes saturated and we realize we're damp.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds like me.
Yeah, so when we realize that our true nature is the presence that we long for, then it becomes a joy to explore whatever is from presence, from who we actually are. Not joy like it's always so much fun to explore what might be arising that might be something I would name as difficult, but the joy of intimacy.
Yeah, it can be difficult, it can be hard, but you just allow it to be here.
Yes.
Something part of the experience.
Yeah.
But it helps a lot.
Great. Evelyn, thank you.
A lot.
Thank you. Thank you so much for calling in. It's great to see you again.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So friends, I'm delighted to see that this has been stimulating for folks. I'm going to try to read a few more of these comments before we close out, and then we can absolutely continue with this theme tomorrow. Okay, Sandy, you were able to connect with the theme throughout. Beautiful. Thanks for letting me know. Sophie, I've been getting interested in systems theory and I find it helpful in order to understand what emerges in consciousness from plane awareness greater than the sum of its parts. Beautiful, beautiful. Sharon, every bit of my content appeared to me to be fundamentally about safety. Yes, Sharon, that is your jam. Good that you can see that. I have many times glimpsed the safety of presence, but it's fleeting. Will it ever last? Lasting, Sandy, implies time. The presence that you are naming doesn't exist in time. It doesn't have a begin or end. It doesn't last or start up again. You are that. Thank you for writing that question in, Sharon. Sorry if I said Sandy. Sharon wrote that one. Sandy, even the Titanic becomes part of the vast ocean. Yes. Yes. Oh, Spencer, you would like to come on screen. Sorry, too late today, but let's do it tomorrow. Richard, peace. Thank you. Kiki, Gasho. Gasho, friends, in the tradition I trained in, is my heart and your heart are one. And Mimosa, yes, it would be good to do 2 sessions around this. Great, great. Right, okay. Yeah, and thank you for understanding, Spencer. Yes, Janice is following my lead if I'm in the middle of an interaction. We don't like to cut that interaction short, but as I complete an interaction, I look to see if anyone else would like to come on screen. So thanks, Janice, for following my lead, and thanks, Spencer, for your patience. I do recognize that there are a few more comments I haven't gotten to read yet today, but just given the time, I will read them once we close out. And Sir, you'll be first on tomorrow if you would enjoy that. So please do try again. All right, friends, have a wonderful day. Thank you so very much for coming, for being here, and for your presence. Okay, I can't resist reading this one more comment here. Andrea, for ages, I have had a felt sense of raw pull at my heart like a thread pulling me forward and a constant longing. When you invited us to be like the moth that flies directly into the flame, I followed the line back to the source and straight into the heart of the longing. And it was so incredibly calm there, a relieving surprise. Beautiful, lovely. Thank you so much. Okay, friends, lovely to be with you. All right.